Good morning, everyone. Welcome to episode 40, back to Oceano. We're currently at San Luis, as you probably remember from the last episode. And we've got some marginal VMC or even some IMC on our hands. Well, I know it's marginal VMC, so that's good. But as you can see, broken clouds, quite low. But I'd like to go to Oceano already, so then we're ready to start our cat rating and depart from Oceano. So that's why I tried to squeeze in this little flight back to Oceano, also just to check out the weather, because if the weather improves around the Oceano area, we might even do the cat rating afterwards. But that just depends on the weather. Hey Nietzsche, welcome! I'm not cut up, but need flap linkage failure a couple of times ago. Yeah, I really like that too. Even though it's an emergency, it's always good to get some experience going and see how to handle those emergencies. So thank you for jumping on board. Welcome back. So, in other words, we've got a marginal VMC, a weather condition flight on our hands today. A very short flight back to Oceano, just to check out the weather to see whether it allows us to do our cat rating. If not, then it's just a nice hop to Oceano. Guys, I hope you enjoy.
Welcome to the Uncertified Pilot. I'm Tim, and this is my flight simulator.
Okay, so this is the flight. As you can see, San Luis and Oceano at the bottom. I would suggest to do exactly the opposite, a mirrored flight, a flip flight, as you could say, regarding the previous episode. So we would just go to the coast and then fly to Oceano. I would suggest following that highway that is southbound here until we eventually reach Oceano. Also, because we've got some marginal VMC weather, it's also good to use as many visual reference points as possible. Also to, I guess, get a radial going outbound from Morro Bay that goes exactly to Oceano. In case we fly into the clouds, we might go back to Morro Bay or use the outbound radial of Morro Bay to get to Oceano. Either way, even though it's a short flight, I think it's a safe procedure, safe approach, a good approach to make sure that we use radio navigation and visual reference points as well. And as some of you have noted a couple of times ago, it's also very good to use time management, so also to keep track of your elapsed time. And I was wondering also, I was also considering using my clock in the cockpit here as a timer, because that's what it's there for most of the time. So I think that's also a good approach to keep track of time and keep. Well, it's actually kind of like keeping a nav log, right? So I think that's also a handy tool that I should use in this case. So regarding this particular flight of today, you could say, well, we're going to go a little bit southwestbound, and in about, let me see, if we would fly 100 knots, 3 minutes. Around 3 minutes, we should see the coastal line. So if not, then we know that there's something up, and we should reconsider our direction of flight. Same goes for that second leg up to Oceano. Now I've set the time of today to dawn. Also just an alternation, so something different than before. But it's getting more bright every minute. Yeah, this is San Luis for you. A lot of clouds, a lot of active sky 2016 that we're going to enjoy, hopefully. Also have a very close look at the weather to see if we still got marginal VMC on our hands. I believe that is the case. So let's just make quick use of it and head to Oceano right away. Thank you guys for hosting the channel. Thank you so much. Much appreciated. Okay, so let me first do that, flight planning wise and weather wise, to have an idea of what is actually going on. So short flight, talked already about navigation in terms of diversions, alternate airports. Well, this is a very short flight, so either San Luis or Oceano might be our airport of choice here. We don't have any big terrain issues yet, so near the coast here you can see there's not a lot of terrain going. Although when we decide or would consider that flight from Oceano to New Cuyuma over here, which is the destination airport of the Cat 1 rating, then you get that same issue that we had last time, or not not the previous episode, the episode before, when we came from Bakersfield to Oceano, that the terrain might interfere with the cloud base, right? And so you might run the risk of trapping yourself in between the terrain and the clouds, and that's not a good thing. That's the that's really the bigger issue here. But for this particular flight near the coast, we can just work with these cloud-based altitudes no matter what, because these are AGL, and near the coast we're around sea level, I guess. San Luis is at 212 feet, Oceano at 14. Sorry guys, I'm still having a cold. Yeah. Anything else? Well, we don't have any really significant airways. As you can see, that military airway once more here at to the south, VR249. Yeah, we're probably not going to overshoot Oceano, but if we do, we need to make sure that we don't fly into any military high-speed aircraft. Cloud, is Oceano VMC again? Well, I guess not, looking at the outside view. So I think that also Oceano will be marginal VMC. Nietzsche, I imagine you'll triple check linkages on the walk around. Yeah, I will. That's twice. That stung you a long time ago. Was the elevator, I think. Yeah, Nietzsche, you're absolutely right. That was with the Skylane 182. Then the elevator. I didn't spot a screw being loose or something like that. And then suddenly, during a traffic pattern, I got a full-blown elevator failure, and that led to a crash. So if you're interested in seeing me crash, please revisit some of the earlier episodes when I was still flying the 182. But still, that's why these walkarounds are so important, and that's why it's so awesome that A2A simulates those with those images. Those are dynamic images that we really need to carefully inspect. Daily Bex, is that the Airflow Lab Cessna 172? No, I reverted to Prepared and using the A2A 172 here because I think it allows, in my particular case, more realism, more detail in terms of visual flying, and especially getting to know engine management and that kind of stuff, which A2A perfectly simulates. So that's why I turned back to Prepared, and here we are with the A2A 172. Good morning, Malcolm. Captain, welcome. Excited of today's episode. Yeah, me too. Me too. It's going to be a short flight, even though if the weather turns out to be just fine, we probably make a flight to. We're also going to do our Cat 1 rating to New Cuyama over there. But terrain, clouds, we'll have to see. Okay, so that is planning-wise, weather. That's the most important part, because even when we're talking here, the weather is changing. Also here in Flight Simulator using Active Sky 2016. So yeah, there's no reason to be hasty here. I mean, there's nothing like an emergency departure. So it's good to have take the time to inspect the weather. But while we do, we must remain aware that the weather is actually changing while we speak. Today's forecast. Data is unavailable. I've got that reading before. Yeah. So as you can see here, well, to the north of us, which is more like San Francisco, you can see a lot of stuff going on. There's a cold front coming down. I know, looking at the general weather forecast, that it's actually going to be there are going to be some rain showers and other bad stuff today and tomorrow near Oceano. So this is not a perfect day to fly. In the real world, you wouldn't do this and take the risk. But here on Flight Sim, well, we can, and it's very interesting and very educational to do so, to see how weather interacts with our flight in terms of safety, in terms of navigation. So yeah, that's why we do consider making this flight. Next one. So yeah, you can see rain. You can see that cold front again near the here in the west on the west coast, and it's almost It also catches on Oceano here. So yeah, rain forecast. So that's something that we need to take into account. Then my favorite chart. So this is 06 Zulu to the left. It's now 08 Zulu. So that's 2 hours, 2 hour old. A map, and as you can see, there's marginal VFR, the blue bubbly area there, but you can also see some reddish, which is more on the ocean, and that's generally typical of the coast here in terms of weather. So that really thick IMC weather just sticks or is stationary around the coastal line, while the marginal VFR stuff is more light, I guess, or more high up, and it moves a little bit more inwards. But you can see marginal VFR weather. What is it going to do? So this is 18 Zulu, so that's 10 hours from now, which is not a really accurate prediction, but still it is a prediction. As you can see, IMC is still there, perhaps even moved a little bit more inland, and we also got some marginal VFR there, which is still there, and also we've got some moderate or greater turbulence, but I think that is outside of our area. And is more to the east. But this is not good weather to fly. It's interesting though, especially when you're an IFR pilot. But in our case, I think it's very, very interesting, and I hope we do make it to Oceano in a safe manner. Then air mats, obviously, as you would expect based on the previous charts, IMC, right? IFR, BR means fog, PCPN. I have no idea what that means. My first impression would be something with precipitation. Does anyone know what PCPN means? Let me know in the comments or here on the chat, because I'm very, very curious to find out. Yeah. Let's move on. I mean, this was forecasted 0300 Zulu on Saturday, so that's already quite an old chart. So this is a better one. This is 0600 Zulu, which is also 2 hours old. So actually these are all dated charts, I suddenly noticed. So actually we should have added a new one that really gives us a forecast. Need to keep that in mind, that I need to add that air mat as well. But still, you can see still IMC, it's stationary. You also saw the previous chart, so chances are IMC and marginal VMC will still be there. Rob, PCPN, precipitation, right. Exactly. Okay, so that means precipitation. Thanks guys for letting me know. Okay, we're moving on. No convective signal. So even though we've got IMC and marginal VFR, we don't see any convective stuff going on here weather-wise, so no thunderstorms, which is good. Ceilings, this is for 0600 Zulu, so that's 2 hours old. Well, you can see a lot of clouds. Well, that immediately strikes you as, should we even fly? You can see the yellow stuff, which is 500, 600 feet, 500 to 900 feet, is still near the ocean. I guess that's the IMC bit of that weather information, and the greenish stuff, well, exactly, it goes down to about 1,000 feet, 3,000 feet, so that's typical marginal VFR weather. Do we also have a more forecasted one? This is 09, well, that's in about an hour or so, so it's a forecast, but not really a very, how do you say, a prolonged one, so we actually wouldn't have needed a 1500 Zulu forecast or something like that. So this is still very near to our departure time. But still, you can see nothing really significant changes. Still, you can see that weather being a quite marginal VMC, although we have seen, again, reviewing that previous, one of those previous charts, that IMC is actually moving very slowly land inwards. Satellites. Visual satellite, well, nothing going on there, which is, to me still seems weird. I would expect a lot of cloud depictions here near the coast, but well, apparently it's not that visible, so it might be very thin clouds. The next chart would confirm that, as you can see. So we've got clouds, but they are not that thick. Talking about thickness of clouds, as also something that Keith mentioned in one of his workshops, also on the PilotEdge forums, and I believe also in the workshops, but I'm not sure. One chart that is missing, I've talked about this as well in one of the earlier episodes of the channel, it's not only wise to inspect the ceilings or the base, actually the cloud layer base that is present around our departure and destination airports. But it's also very interesting and useful and practical and safe to inspect or research the cloud tops. So you know that in case you hit IMC while you're flying, you know that you can actually climb and get out of that stuff. And that's not a chart that is here part of ForeFlight. I know that Keith then spoke of a skew or a skew P plot or TP plot. I don't know for sure. And I've also seen that the that particular web page that he used to refer to has now been gone. I don't know. I cannot find it anymore. So that should be a web page that we could use. The T-skew, yeah, Nietzsche, that's what I mean. The T-skew plot. And that would show you a very, very detailed picture of where the cloud's base is, the cloud tops are, what the winds are doing, and not just a general wind direction like, okay, these are the winds like you would hear on ADIS. You would almost think that that wind direction is equal for each altitude, but it's not. In most cases, even the quite opposite is true, so that the wind direction at the ground is opposite from the winds much more high up. And you might have risk of wind shear and that kind of stuff. And this Q plot kind of vertically shows you up to, well, 40,000 feet from the ground, the different wind directions for that particular airport, but also the cloud base and the cloud tops, which is very, very informative. So I would really like to see ForeFlight incorporating that chart here in the app, but it isn't there. I know there's a web page, but I cannot find it anymore. So yeah, hey Miniwebs, welcome on board. But anyway, cloud tops is also quite interesting, and as I guess using this chart you could say, well, we don't have much thick cloud, so it might be a very thin layer. So the clouds that we're seeing right now here, well, they might look intimidating, and they still are, but they might not be that thick. Okay, moving on. So visibility, well, also IMC, VMC, marginal VMC like 6 miles, 5 miles. I don't think we've got really significant visibility issues here. Might check the meters afterwards. But around 5 to 6 miles, which still, as a real-world pilot, even in flight sim, might be not too much. So even a 5 or 4 mile visibility might still be technically VMC or marginal VMC, but in your flight it might actually be already quite challenging or intimidating to some level, and so even in a marginal VMC setting you might say, well, this is too much, this has exceeded my personal weather limitations, I'm not going to fly. Moving on, so winds, well, these are at 3,000 feet, while in our case we're going to make a very short flight. So in case we're going to do our count rating, we're going to have a more closer look here. At around 6,000 feet, you can see some more increased winds, especially in our area here. And 6,000 feet is not that much high up. Again, here on the skew plot, this would be depicted for any particular airport, the different wind directions and the wind speeds. But generally here, winds are coming from the ocean, so coming from the west, heading to the east, and they are quite strong. They are heading to the right direction of our destination airport. So I guess that's the low pressure area pressure that makes that left turn around, and I cannot. Again, I would like to draw on these pictures, but I cannot. As you can see, it's turning. No, well, yeah, it's turning left bound. All that wind, so we can actually have an expected tailwind when we are planning to fly to the east. Okay, and at 9,000, I guess the winds would even increase. Yeah. Okay. Okay, no turbulence, SIGMATs. There obviously is some turbulence, I guess, especially around the Rockies here, as usual, but nothing significant. No icing, SIGMATs, and if we would go much high up, again, around 15,000 feet, 13,000 feet, we might head into freezing. But there's no risk of icing in our current flight, so that's good to know. Okay, so that concludes the weather. So yeah, tricky weather, and not something that would be labeled as a safe flight at all. But it's a very educational and informative flight as flight simulator pilots. That's the big advantage of using flight simulation. So we've got San Luis. Well, we are out of the outside of the PilotEdge coverage service times, so there are no controllers right now. So we just use or fly on San Luis as a non-towered airport. So we just use CTAF and we just depart on our own, being very responsible of not flying into other traffic and doing the same stuff as we did at Oceano. Head to the ocean, follow the highway to the coast, and then enter the traffic pattern on downwind and land. That's the whole idea. Hoping that we'll reach that. So while we're taking off, even during departure, we're already quite wary of the cloud ceiling, and make sure that we can even make the flight to Oceano. If not, we would just return to San Luis and land anyway, and then that's that. I'm not going to tweak the weather, as you know. We're always flying with live, real-world weather, because I think that's very informative. I also like the whole setting and context of not being able to fly because the weather is bad, like in the real world. Even though I feel like streaming and that kind of stuff, I'm still considering doing then other streams, like a hangar talk or something. So if we cannot fly, we can just visit the hangar and just chat about aviation or stuff that I'm reading or stuff that you've been reading, and just make a nice social setting there, rather than flying. But this is the whole idea. Hey Kimo, welcome on board. Welcome guys on this Saturday morning, at least in Amsterdam Saturday morning. So anything else that we need to consider? Fuel, no. Weight and balance, no. Okay, so that concludes our flight planning. We can start with the actual checks. So reset cabin, that's the first one. So control wheel lock removed. Let's see if my Saitek panel is active. It is. Batteries are off, and here on my panel everything is off, but let's check virtually as well. Yep, it's off. Parking brakes are not set. They are set now. Well, let's move this direction. So fire extinguisher, let's pretend that it's there. Live vest, oxygen, doors closed, windows are closed. ELT set to auto. Cabin air is still open. Heat is off, which is fine. Flaps are up, and they are up. The levers work. Cutoff, trim works. Cutoff is not cut off. And the fuel tanks, we set them to both. Moving upwards here. Off, off, off. These are still on. GPS we removed and replaced now. We've got DME. Yay. Nothing that we need to do here, here. Circuit breakers are in, and that's fine. We should now remove the pitot tube cover, because we're going to do that test soon. Bloop, there it is. And anything else that we need to do? Yes, because the first item here on the checklist that I forgot to do in the previous episode, which is just a minor thing, but still is first doing the flight control test. So down, then the one goes down, and that one goes up. Then the other side, this one goes down, this one seems to go up. Let's look at the elevators. Seem to move. Then the trim tab. Turning my trim wheel while we're doing this test. Yeah, it's moving, so that works. And our rudders work. Rudder works as well, so that's okay. Then we're going to turn on the batteries. There it goes. And we're going to check all the lights. Landing lights, taxi lights, strobe lights, nav lights, and also the pitot heat. We're going to go outside and have a look. Taxi lights are on, landing lights are on, position lights are on, strobe lights are on. Also on the other wingtip, beacon light is on, and the position lights, come on, yeah, are also on. Okay, then the, no, not this one, the stall horn, and we've got the pitot heat, which should now be warm, and it is warm. Okay, so those work. So landing lights off, taxi lights off, strobe lights off, nav lights off, beacon all remains on, pitot heat is off. We move on with our flow. Next is the avionics. Bleep, all digits are on, so the autopilot is working. We move on to the throttle, nothing that we need to do there. Alternate static air, I forgot with the reset cabin, but it's pushed in, so that's good. Flaps down, boom, boom, boom. Let's see if they go down and go down in sync. They do. All right, we move up. Let's see if the transponder is working. Oh, test. all the digits are working, so that is good. Off. Move up frequency we're going to do after engine start. This is fine. Then the annunciator panel, good readings, and all the lights work. Nothing we need to do there. Fuel, we've got enough fuel to make the trip to Oceano. Well, temperature-wise, not a big one, but 18 degrees Celsius. And that's it. But you can use here the different functions of the clock. It's just a clock, but there are even, well, in A2A it's simulated as real. So there are many interesting features here. This is flight time, this is elapsed time. So this is something that we can use to track our legs and get that timer going. This is pause and this is reset. And then again it starts. Yeah, which is, well, it's a good feature. And that's it. Avionics off and then batteries off again. So now we can do the exterior pre-flights. Again, pitot tube clear. Baggage door is now closed. Tail down is tie down is removed. Now, guys, inspect. Once more, I'm still waiting for A2A to confirm on that cheat sheet. As soon as they do, then I will publicly share that cheat sheet as well. Is all in, is all in, is all in. So that looks good. Secure connecting rod is over there. Is also good. Connecting rods here, and they are clearly connected and screwed, tightly screwed. That's a trim tab, works as well. We pretend that we check the antennas, also the nav antennas, the ELT. Flaps, wiggle, it's good, it's all connected here. Wingtip, ailerons, and the control arms seem to be secure. Tie down here is removed, leading edges, blah, blah, blah. The wheels look good. Sump, no contamination, good color. Fuel confirms our reading, fuel gauge reading. Oil is getting lower but still fine and good color. Sump near the engine, no contamination, good color. Props, inspect if there's no chunk out of that. Secure, leading edges, no damage there. Intakes, no bird's nest or other stuff that's in there. Then the static port is clear. And here you can see the fuel reading is also confirms our fuel gauge. Again, some from the other wing tank. Good color, no contamination. Wheels, good inflation. Tie down is removed. Stall horn is clear. And the fuel vent is clear. Other wing secure. Seems to be just fine. And the flaps, also there's a wiggle there. And they seem to be secure as well. Completed the exterior walk around. We don't need to visit the hangar. That's the idea. Flight Saitek, hey, welcome on board, man. A cheat sheet like up, left, down, right, down, down, boom, engine start. No, I don't think that is what I meant. No, I'm working on, or I compiled a cheat sheet of all the different images of the exterior walk around of the Cessna 172. So with the control arms and all the different mechanical elements. And gathered the images that are in the folder of the A2A aircraft here on my computer, or anyone's computer that is using A2A, of the faulty images of those components, because I think it's very educational to know what to look for in terms of what can go wrong with those images or with those components of your aircraft. So I made a cheat sheet showing the different images alongside one another, so you can use those as a way to check whether you see any damage on your aircraft. That's the idea. I hear some traffic here. Perhaps that's mini webs once more. But there's another aircraft that sounds like a jet, but in many cases it's just a prop. Okay, so that completes the exterior walk around. We can then start with our before engine checks. So first, fasten our seat belts and close the door. Close the door. Let's also just close the window already. Then what we're going to do is do our briefing. So what we're going to do is San Luis Oceano, short flight. Very careful of the weather. it might be the case that we cannot even reach Oceano on a normal altitude. Now, what's the lowest altitude that we are able to fly in case the ceilings are a bit lower than we expected? Well, that depends. If I'm right, because I'm just remembering this by heart again. Again, this is stuff that is also quite often talked about in the AOPA Flight Training Magazine, which is a really great magazine to be subscribed to, even if you're a flight simulator pilot. If you are flying over land, it's a minimum of 1,000 feet, I believe, or otherwise depicted on the chart. If you're over water, it's 500 feet or even lower, I believe. And it's 2,000 feet above congested areas like cities or so. In terms of minimal cruising altitudes here, but it might be the case. I need to look this up. It's interesting. It's interesting information, especially when the cloud layers are low. Could we fly on 800 feet as a cruising altitude? I don't know. I guess these are the kinds of rules or regulations that are important to consider. Need to look that up. As well. I think it was something like that, or it could be 1,000 feet above congested civilized areas, cities, urban areas, and 500 feet over areas that are no cities, so just basic terrain, forests, and up to 0 feet above water. I don't know what the steps are actually, but I need to look that up. Okay. That is the briefing. So we're going to do a departure from... Yeah, let's grab the plates here once more. Do I have them here? No, I don't. San Luis is just one big long runway, but just let's grab the taxi diagram. Yeah, so here we are, and we are currently parked over there, the transient parking. What we're going to do is we need to go to the south, so you would expect just departing runway 11, but chances are the winds are coming from the ocean, so it's better just to taxi like this and then depart like so. So 29. We do a left base departure, so that direction, and then we head over to Oceano. That's the idea. Away. Yeah. So and then we fly. We catch on that highway, as you can see here. That's going to the south to Oceano, really, to the ocean, and then we head to Oceano and enter the downwind. So what we're going to do is we fly a little bit this side, and then enter the downwind for runway 29 here of Oceano. That's the idea of what I have in mind right now. Rob, pretty sure it is 1,500 and 1,000, and I believe over water is 500 still. Okay, Rob, thanks for mentioning. But you're pretty sure. I would like to be really, really sure, so let's have a look. Also, I'm noticing now that my cabin here is fogging up, which is also simulated by A2A because our doors are closed. So let me just open a window quick to keep that air flowing. Anything else in terms of briefing? Well, frequencies we're going to set very soon. Nothing that we need to worry about right now. Okay, then we need to make sure that the circuit breakers are still in. And they are. Parking brakes released. Let's check whether our brakes are firm. So differential braking is working. So that's good. Parking brakes set. Fuel tanks are set to both. And avionics are off. That's very important because if you have the avionics on and you turn on the engine, electrical surge or risk of electrical surge, you might damage your instruments, which is also simulated here on in A2A. So we are ready to start our engines. Okay. Batteries on. There we are. Let's prime the engine. 2, 3. Cut off. Fuel pump off. Throttle in. Make sure that no one is walking around. Clear. Prop. There it goes. 1200. Oil pressure is coming up. Generator on. Within 30 seconds, it's now in the green arc. Leaning. For ground operations, watch that RPM drop. There it goes. You can also listen and hear the engine. Hear the engine drop a bit. We set to 1000. Avionics on. Flaps up. Transponder set to mode C, as always. Verify 1200. And let's turn on our virtual headphones. Okay. Frequencies. So first, I like to have my comms set. So ADIS is 120.6. Let's have a listen to comms. Let's see what the base and the clouds are doing.
San Luis Airport information. Sierra 14530. Wind calm. Visibility greater than 20 miles. Sky condition. Ceiling 2,800. Broken. Temperature 19er 2.16. Altimeter 3001. ILS runway 11 in use. Landing and departing runway 11.
Yeah, so ADIS here in prepared also just changes the preferred runway for departure or arrival based on any winds. In the real world though, they only change the runway, active runways based, well, I guess when the winds are stronger than about 8 or 10 knots or so. Below that, they just have a preferred runway to use. I mean, when the winds are calm, it doesn't really matter that much if you have a headwind or a tailwind. And so usually you can expect the same kind of runway. It's also depicted in the airport facility directory. But here in prepared and flight simulation, when even there's a 1 knot wind, they change the runways, which in the real world is not usual. Okay, but clouds are higher than 2,000 feet, which is good, also considering we're here to terrain. METARs, altitude clouds are AGL, I've read, so not MSL, which makes sense. So you always know whether on that particular airport where the METAR is coming from, whether you have marginal VMC or VMC or IMC. Okay, so that's comms, and Oceano is 1 to 2.7. Just make sure that this tower frequency here on San Luis is also used for CTAF. 124.0, you can see already. Yeah, so that's good. And we don't have to switch to ground, even though the airport is now officially formally closed. So it's just CTAF 124.0, and Oceano is 1 to 2.7. So I'm going to set that in my standby com 1 to 2.7. Okay. So that are frequencies. I would also like to check that we have set the Morro Bay VOR 112.4. This is nav, yeah, 112.4. So which? Yeah, there it goes. We already have a reading behind the iPad screen here, and then we need to consider a outbound. So what we could do is, just in case when we head to the ocean and we still have visibility looking here at the airport, we need to catch the outbound radial of, come on, 129. 129. 129, and then we are sure that we're going to overfly Oceano, which is good. But I'm hoping that we not need to rely on that radial too much and just spot Oceano after we took off. Okay, those are frequencies. That's the nothing else that we need to consider here. Then we move up. Nothing that we need to do there. Altimeter already set. Heading indicator is in sync. Let's set the heading box to 9. Fuel is good. Still engine is looking good and is warming up. Not in the green arc yet, the oil temperature, but close enough for us to start our taxi. Which you could already do when the engine is not warm, as you know. If we stick below 1400 RPM, that would be just fine. But it has to be in the green before we do our power check. Okay, we're ready to go. So how are we going to taxi? So we're going to depart 29, so that's to the right. Yeah, so that direction. So we need to taxi to the left, and just pick up the right taxiways. Just let me have a quick look at the taxi diagram just once more. I don't like to taxi the wrong direction. Yeah, so we are here, so we're just going to stick to alpha. Yeah, it's very basic. And then head to clear, done. Yeah, and head to 29. Okay, 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 okay. Maps. Anyway. Parking brakes released. Brake test works. Oh, let's turn on TrackIR. Let's fly into that airplane. I like these clouds, even though it's marginal VMC and it's quite dangerous. Or not really dangerous, but you need to be very careful as a private pilot to fly in this kind of weather. I think it's very interesting. So here's Alpha. I'm just going to taxi this direction. As you can see here in the black Alpha, so that's the current airway, taxiway that you see here. Showing it to the left. There's Golf, which confirms our inspection of the taxi diagram just now. So here to the left is Golf, which doesn't concern us, but turn indicator, slip indicator, we're turning, so those are working, and the attitude indicator, all this stuff is stable. Again, engine is slowly warming up, and you can go a little bit faster than this. Although, in many cases also on stream you see people taxiing quite fast. So it actually should be a more fast walking speed, really. I mean, airplanes are not made to use as cars almost, to really drive them around the airport on a high speed. So just a slow speed is just fine. Like this ORBX scenery. Just some nice stationary aircraft, some hangars. Usually also some people flown. Well, we can go a little bit faster, 900 RPM. Bye Rob, thank you for dropping by. Have a great day. Okay, so already starting our departure briefing. So 29, we're going to depart. Left base departure, that's also what we're going to announce then, obviously. And we just fly to the west. Or southwest, I must say. Until we reach the ocean. We also have that radial that we can then use to pick up on in order to fly to Oceano. But Oceano is on the coast, so if we just follow the coastline, we'll find Oceano anyway. If the weather is still good, but you can see the visibility is not that bad. Okay, so here we are near the threshold of 29, confirmed. There's a run-up area here, so let's use that. Engine is in the green, or oil temperature. With the Skylane though, there's also cylinder head temperature, which should also be in the green. Whoop, there it is. Okay, manual braking here, mixture full in, and oil temperature is set, fuel tanks to both. Okay. 1800, whoop, there we are, no annunciator messages, engine is stable, gauges look fine. Left mag looks good, back to both. Right one, no, you can see it's a little bit fouled again. So the spark plugs need to be cleaned. So what was the procedure? We had to about, well, full power in the power check, then lean until it just starts to get rough. Something like this. Perhaps a little bit more rich. And we keep it here for about 20 seconds. So now the temperature rises in the cylinders. And will probably, hopefully, evaporize the lead that has been in the previous episodes, in the previous flights, has been created on the spark plugs because the fact that we have not leaned too much during flight. So there was too much air in the cylinders, apparently, and that didn't lead to a full combustion of the fuel. And so a lot of fuel, well, I think it's lead that is actually then generated, it appears on the spark plugs, and then the spark plugs cannot spark that well anymore, and that's why we saw that rough RPM. So now we're increasing that heat, lean, make it very hot in the cylinders, so it's good to make sure that the engine is not overheating. You can see now that the roughness, the roughness that we saw, that we leaned on, is now gone, so that might indicate that we're doing a good job. So mixture full in, and let's head back to 1800 once more, and let's check those mags once more. Left one clean, back to both, and the right one looks good as well. Fixed. Okay, then landing lights on to see if we got a dip here, or a charge, you could say, from the M meter, from the batteries. Those are working. Back to idle, no non-shader messages, engine doesn't quit on us, still there's oil pressure. That's a good test. And back to a MageCon. Welcome on board, man. Yeah, I'm doing fine. Trying to make a trip over to Oceano with marginal VMC. Okay, so that is set. Landing lights on, strobe lights on. We've got a transponder here, 1200, and fuel ticks at the both. Elevator is set, can be set a little bit nose down. I prefer. Takeoff, left base, departure, and we head over to the southwest or south, heading over to the coast. We pick up on the coast and head to Oceano. Okay, we've got clouds, so we stay low. In case we do hit the cloud base too soon, we head back to San Luis, and then it's done for, unfortunately. San Luis traffic, Skyhawk, Papa Hotel Tango, and Mike is departing runway 29 for a left base departure to the south, San Luis. No one's on the runway, and no one is in the traffic pattern. We could do our 360, but I think we'll be just fine. Also, what I'm going to do just before we take off, and I should have done that before we did our lineup here, is just a quick flight control test. Make sure that that stuff is really working. So obviously we need our flight controls. There we go. Mixture full in, full power. A little bit of right rudder. Engine is in the green, airspeed is alive. 40. 50. 60, that's rotation speed. And there we go. Allow that airspeed to increase. A little bit of a sloped runway, as you can see. That's that smaller runway. Very cute airport. Still keeping in that right rudder. A little bit nose down here. Nose down trim, I mean. We've got some terrain here, so this is a window of, or terrain where it's a bit lower that we can use to make our left base departure. Slow turn. Thank you for following, Batal. Welcome. San Luis traffic, Skyhawk Hotel Tango Mike is turning left base runway 29 for a southbound departure, leaving the traffic pattern area. San Luis. There we go. Still clouds are nicely high up. How much separation do we need to ensure for as private pilots in terms of cloud base? Could we just cloud scrape here, or how much feet do we need to stay clear of the cloud base? Bambi Slayer makes a difference. Welcome on board, man. So that's the south. 1500 feet is fine by me. Push on that yoke. You can see the coast already. Good visibility. There's the bay in front of us. So that's visually confirmed. Still full power to get to around 100 knots. And then we pull on the RPM. Let's say 1200 or 2100. So just listen. Something like this. Remove the rudder. A little bit of leaning here. AGT. I will just keep my landing lights on because we're so very near to Oceano. There might be other traffic. And now I'm leaning, or trimming a little bit nose down. Switch to the CTEV of Oceano because we're already quite near. And we are northwest of the airport, I would say around 5 miles. Oceano's over there. And we're inbound for entering the downwind, because that's usual, FAA regulations, standard procedure to enter the 40-degree downwind leg. And the downwind leg is on the other side of Oceano, so we're going to fly along the coast here. Look at these reflections, so pretty. And then enter the downwind. So let's do that announcement. Oceano traffic, Skyhawk Pop Hotel Tango Any Mike is about 5 miles northwest of the airport at 2,000 feet. We're inbound for a full stop landing runway 29. We're going to enter the 40-degree downwind very, very soon. Oceano. Okay. Nice pier. Or piers, I must say. There are a couple of them. This is the A2A 172 Looper. Indeed, Nietzsche. It's a... such a gorgeous plane. It looks pretty, but it's also highly, highly realistic in terms of engine behavior, in terms of flight controls. It's a must-have add-on, I believe. Also, any other aircraft of A2A is has the same realism. Oh, I should have closed my window before takeoff. That's something that I should check. There might be other stuff in it, or stones or whatever can go into the cockpit, which is something to prevent because it's quite distracting. Here's that highway. Well, guys, if I look at this weather, this would be fine to take a trip to do our cat rating soon, doesn't it? I mean, this is just fine. As you can see here, I mean, that's the issue. If we go to the east again, to New Yokohama, or what was it called? I don't know what it's called. We've got that terrain, right? So even though here on sea level we've got enough space to remain clear of clouds. By the way, it is 500 feet. 500 feet we should remain clear of the cloud top, or the cloud base. So in our case here, that's fine. But if the terrain is an issue, as you can see already here, but also here to the left, if the terrain goes up, we might get stuck in between the terrain and the cloud layer, and that's quite dangerous. And that's a real issue in terms of that cat rating flight. A bit less RPM here. Trying to maintain in gliding distance from the coast. So in case we have an engine out, we still have some room to glide back. Oh, it's perfect flying weather. Now, where is Oceano? City, highway, I think it's over there. I'll also do another announcement here that we're now on the west here. Oceano traffic, Sky Papa Del Tango, India Mike is 3 miles west of the airport at 2,000 feet. We are inbound for the 40-degree downwind 29 for a full stop, Oceano. Where is Oceano? I mean, you can see the textures here are so nice, so photorealistic and so complex that... Oh, here it is. There's Oceano. I mean, in the old days, you could clearly see the runway already with the border stroke white thingy around the runways, but here they blend so nicely into the in the terrain. Yeah, Daily Basics. The water really looks nice, and I even don't have any. I don't have high settings even. Do have water reflections of clouds and terrain, which I think is really pretty. Okay, so there's Oceano, and the downwind leg goes like this, right? So, whoom, 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 whoom. So what I'm going to do now is circle here, then turn around, 40-degree downwind, which is like so, and then boom, boom, land. So what we can do already is head to traffic pattern altitude, which is 1,000. Usually 1,000 AGL. Near the coast here, we are on 0, so airport elevation is around 40 feet. Engine is looking fine. Still landing lights, strobe lights are on. Thank you for following Vlognificent. Welcome on board. And guys, if you are not following the Uncertified Pilot yet, please do hit that purple follow button and you'll get an instant notification as soon as I'm flying again. Also, it's a great encouragement for me to keep on doing this. Okay, making that turn. Going full mixture here. There's the runway. Well, this is kind of like a 40-degree entry, I would say. Oceano traffic, Sky Hotel Tango, the mic is on the 40-degree left downwind runway 29 for a full stop. There's 1,000 feet. A little bit less RPM. Keep that traffic pattern nice and tight, so we're not going to turn just yet. We are going to reduce speed, so we should enter around 90 knots with a one notch of flaps. A little bit more power. Oceano traffic, Sky Hotel Tango, and mic is entering the left downwind runway 29, full stop, Oceano. There we are, one notch of flaps. Helps us to gain those few feet to get to 1,000. Watch that speed, heading box at the bottom. Overshot it a bit, so turning a little bit to the left. Really need to push on this yoke now because of those flaps. So let's trim down a bit. There we are. And there's the runway, confirms. Nice distance. Should also be gliding distance, so in case we have an engine out, we should be able to now turn around and land, which is quite... We might just make it, I guess. Also nice to practice that in one of the future episodes. Emergency landings in a traffic pattern. Bye Cloud, bye, thank you for dropping by. Okay. Reducing speed here. Let's make that turn to base. Oceano traffic, Sky Hotel Tango, mic is turning left base runway 29, full stop Oceano. Reduce that RPM. Watch that heading bug. Also should have been looking outside a bit more. Exploding Fatty, welcome on board. Because we are visual flying here, I should make sure that before we turn there's no one in front of us. Well, we don't hear anyone on the traffic pattern, on the CDAF, but still. Oceano traffic, Sky Hotel Tango, mic is turning final 29 for a full stop Oceano. Nice, nice, nice speed. Again, this is why I love TrackIR. Thank you for following, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you, Magic, Nesquik. Good altitude. Usually I'm too high, but this is fine. Landing lights are on, strobe lights are on, mixture is full. Okay. So what I'm gonna do, guys, I mean, I think the weather is fine. We could just try to make the cat rating soon. But first I'm gonna park, get myself just some food and some drinks, just replenish. And I just quit the stream for just a minute, restart the stream again, and then continue the flight to do our cat rating. So that might be fun. I like to have a different episode for the cat rating. So that's why I just do a very short break here. So then we have a new stream going. Okay, 55 knots. I'm still pulling too much on the yoke, so I'm now replacing that with some nose up trim. Makes the flare a bit easier. There we are, end of the runway. A little bit too early. Oh, well, not pretty, but fine. Pulling on that yoke, aerodynamic braking. It pushes the aircraft onto the ground, onto the runway. So we use as less brakes as possible. Very slow braking here. Remove that yoke. There we are. It's so nice, Oceano. It's such a cute airport. Some brake. So it's good to remain some speed on the runway to expedite your exit. Oceano traffic, Sky Hotel Tango any mic is clear, runway 29, Oceano. Okay, a little bit further on, we need to be behind this threshold line. Come on, come on, come on. I mean, this is also part of being a little bit more speedy, so that's what's not that pro of me. There we are, 1,000. Keep the engine running, keep it warm. Landing lights off, strobe lights off. We lean for ground, something like this. We can open the window, it's still open. And nothing else that we need to reset here. So let's go. Park it to the right. Yeah, daily basics. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm going to do. So after I parked here, I'm just going to quit the stream, get a bite here on Oceano, and then within, well, I guess within 5 minutes or 10 minutes, I will go online again with the stream, planning our flight from Oceano to that other airport, new blah blah blah, non-towered airport. To do our first cat rating, which is going to be exciting in VMC. Now I know the more we go to the east, come on, a little bit more speedy here. The further we go to the east, the better the weather gets, because the bad weather is usually near the ocean. So let's park here next to this Bonanza. Make sure our right wingtip is not going to hit that hangar. I believe also in the airport facility directory there's a caution warning of this very tight taxiway here. I can imagine a lot of damage being done on those air wings or aircraft wings. There we are, and this yellow line is for our main wheels. So there, something like this. Yep. And that's about it. First avionics off, then mixture cut off. Wait until the prop stops. Throttle back. Boom. There we are. Magnetos off. Release the brakes. Park and brake sets. Control wheel lock set. Virtual headphones removed. Prevent crossing. Let's turn to the right this time. Doesn't really matter. Then generator off. Batteries off. And open the door. Boom. There we are. Not going to put on any wheel chucks or pitot tube cover because we're just going to fly in a few minutes or so. That was it. Perfect, simple flight, went pretty great. Weather isn't that bad. I can also see some blue skies over there, guys. Can you see them as well? Can you see that sky as well? It's good. Now the whole idea is when we're going to do our cat rating, just let me give you a brief look to see if you guys got time to visit me once more in just a few minutes in the next stream. The idea is now, let me remove this. Clear all. Away, yes, thanks. Oceano, boom, that's where we are right now. And what I would like to do is do the first cat rating. And the first cat rating is from here to here. New Kiuma, that's the airport that I meant. New Kiuma, Lima 88, which is kind of fun. But as you can see, in the middle of this valley, terrain, and terrain is not that useful when you've got cloud layers, right? So even though we've got marginal VMC here on the coast, thank you for following, Dutchman, welcome on board. The whole question is, how far up does the, let me put this down, this marginal VMC, so this cloud, how much far does it go to the east, right? Because if it stops already here, that overcast or broken layer, then we're clear, we can just go into the terrain without any problems. But if it goes over to here, then the meter readings that we get on the ocean from San Luis or Santa Maria Airport, which is 2200 or 2800 AGL, right, might say, oh, that's marginal VMC. But if it's also at 200 or 300 feet here, in comparison to those airports, then actually the terrain might go through that cloud layer, and here it might actually be IMC. Because then the difference or the spacing between the terrain and the cloud layers might be 500 feet or 200 feet or 0. And yeah, that's a bummer. So what I would suggest is to make a departure right now. Just try to do the cat rating and fly to the east, like I plan right here and just see what happens, which is not a very good choice or very good way of doing things, I guess. But hey, we just need to try, and I like to fly and I have some time, so let's just do that and just see whether we can still see the terrain, still see some spacing over there, and try to fly into that valley and complete our CAD rating. Because as soon as we're to the east, we've got much better flying weather, and we can stream a lot more often and fly. That's the idea. So guys, what I'm going to do is get a quick drink, something quick to eat yet. I'm going to quit the stream and reopen the stream in just a few minutes, and then do that quick flight to New Kuyuma. Thanks for watching, hoping to see you very, very soon.
Welcome to the Uncertified Pilot. I'm Tin, and this is my flight simulator.